I liked racing by the milk delivery when it was far from done with its rounds, or by the grocer and the baker as they were just getting ready for business. Liked to run along the shore and the promenade when there wasn't a soul about yet and our house seemed a distant mirage. I liked it when our feet were aligned left with left and struck the ground at the same time, leaving footprints on a shore that I wished to return to and, in secret, place my foot where his had left its mark. This alternation of running and swimming was simply his routine. In graduate school, did he run on the sub-path? I joke. He always exercised even when he was sick. He'd exercise in bed if he had to, even when he'd slept with someone new the night before. He said he'd still head out for a jog early in the morning. The only time he didn't exercise was when they operated on him. When I asked him what for, the answer I had promised never to incite in him came at me like the thwack of the jack in a box wearing a baleful smirk. Later, perhaps he was out of breath and didn't want to talk too much, or just wanted to concentrate on his swimming or his running. Or perhaps it was his way of spurring me to the same, totally harmless. But there was something at once chilling and off-putting in a sudden distance that crept between us in the most unexpected moments. It was almost as though he were doing it on purpose, feeding me slack and more slack, and then yanking away any semblance of fellowship. The steely gaze always returned. One day, while I was practicing my guitar at what he had become my table in a back garden by the pool, and he was lying nearby on the grass, I recognized the gaze right away. He had been staring at me while I was focusing on the fingerboard, and when I suddenly raised my face to see if he liked what I was playing, there it was, cutting cruel like a glistening blade instantly retracted the moment its victim caught sight of it. He gave me a bland smile, as tough to say no point hiding it now. Stay away from him. He must have noticed I was shaken and in an effort to make it up to me, began asking me questions about the guitar. I was too much on my guard to answer him with candor. Meanwhile, hearing me scramble for answer made him suspect that perhaps more was amiss than I was showing. Don't bother explaining, just play it again. But I thought you hated it. Hated it? Whatever gave you that idea? We argued back and forth. Just play it, will you? The same one? Yes, please, the same one. I stood up and walked into the living room, leaving the large French windows open so that he might hear me play it on the piano. He followed me halfway and, leaning on the window's wooden frame, listened for a while. You changed it. It's not the same. What did you do to it? I just played the way Liszt would have played it. He jimmed around with it. Just play it again, please. I liked the way he finished exasperation. So I started playing the piece again. After a while, I can't believe you changed it again. Well, not by much. This is just how Busoni would have played if he had altered this version. Can't you just play the Bach the way Bach wrote it? But Bach never wrote it for guitar. He may not even have written it for the harpsichord. In fact, we are not even sure it's by Bach at all. Forget I asked. Okay, no need to get so worked up, I said. It was my turn to begin Jogging. This is the Bach as transcribed by me without Busoni. It's a very young Bach and it's dedicated to his brother. I know exactly what phrase in the piece must have stirred him the first time. And each time I played it, I was sending it to him as a little gift. Because it was really dedicated to him as a token of something very beautiful in me that would take no genius to figure out, and that urged me to throw in an extended cadenza just for him. We were, and he must have recognized the sign long before I did, flirting. Later that evening in my diary, I wrote, I was exaggerating when I said I thought you hated the piece. What I meant to say was, I thought you hated me. I was hoping you'd pursued me of the opposite, and you did for a while. Why won't I believe it tomorrow morning? So this is who he also is, I said to myself. After seeing how he'd flipped from ice to sunshine, I might as well have asked, do I flip back and forth in just the same way? P.S. We are not writing for one instrument alone. I'm not, neither are you. I had been perfectly willing to brand him as difficult and unapproachable and have nothing more to do with him. 2 words from him, and I had seen my putting a pathy change into I'll play anything for you till you ask me to stop, till it's time for lunch, till the skin on my fingers wear off layer after layer, because I like doing things for you. We'll do anything for you, just say the word. I liked you from day one, and even when you returned eyes for my renewed offers of friendship. I'll never forget that this conversation occurred between us, and that there are easy ways to bring back summer in the snowstorm. What I forget to earn mark in the promise was that ice and apathy have ways of instantly repealing all truths and resolutions signed in a sooner moments. Then came that July Sunday afternoon when our house suddenly emptied and we were the only ones there. And fire tore through my guts, because fire was the first and easiest words that came to me later the same evening when I tried to make sense of it in my diary. I'd waited and waited in my room to my bed in a trance-like state of terror and anticipation. Not a fire of passion, not a ravaging fire, but something paralyzing, like the fire of cluster bombs that suck up the oxygen around them and leave you panting because you have been kicked in a gut and a vacuum has ripped up every living lung tissue and dried your mouth. And you hope nobody speaks because you can't talk, and you pray no one asks you to move. Because you can't talk, and you pray no one asks you to move, because your heart is clogged and beats so fast it would sooner spit out shards of glass than let anything else flow through its narrowed chambers. Fire like fear, like panic, like one more minute of this and I'll die if he doesn't knock at my door. But I'd sooner he never knocked than knock now. I had learned to leave my French window ajar, and I lie on my bed wearing only my bathing suit, my entire body on fire. Fire like a pleading that says, please, please tell me I'm wrong. Tell me I have imagined all this. Because it can possibly be true for you as well. And if it's true for you too, then you are the crudest man alive. The afternoon he did finally walk into my room without knocking, as if summoned by my prayers, and asked how come I wasn't with the other at the beach, and all I could think of saying, though I couldn't bring myself to say it, was to be with you, Oliver, with or without my bathing suit, to be with you on my bed, in your bed, which is my bed during the other month of the year. Do with me what you want. Take me, just ask if I want to, and see the answer you'll get. Just don't let me say no. And tell me I wasn't dreaming that night when I heard a noise outside the landing by my door. And suddenly now that someone was in my room, someone was sitting at the foot of my bed, thinking, and finally start moving up towards me, and was no lying. Not next to me, but on top of me, while I lay on my tummy. And that I liked it so much that, rather than risk doing anything to show I'd been awakened or to let him change his mind and go away, I feigned to be fast asleep, thinking this is not, cannot had better not be a dream, because the words that came to me as I pressed my eyes shut were, this is like coming home. Like coming home after years away among truants and Lestrejunias, like coming home to a place where everyone is like you. where people know, they just know coming home as when everything falls into place and you suddenly realize that for 17 years all you'd been doing was feeding with the wrong combination, which was when I decided to convey without budging, without moving a single muscle in my body, that I'd be willing to yield if you pushed, that I already yield, was yours, all yours, except that you were suddenly gone, and though it seemed too true to be a dream, yet I was convinced that all I wanted from the day onward was for you to do the exact same thing you'd done in my sleep. The next day we were playing doubles, and during a break, as we were drinking Mafalda's lemonades, he put his free arm around me and then gently squeezed his thumb and forefingers into my shoulder in imitation of a friendly hug message. The whole thing very chummy. But I was so spellbound that I wrenched myself free from his touch, because a moment longer and I would have slackened like one of those tiny wooden toys whose gimp-legged body collapses as soon as the mainspring are touched. Taken aback, he apologized and asked if he had pressed a nerve or something. He hadn't meant to hurt me. He must have felt truthfully mortified if he suspected he had either hurt me or touched me the wrong way. The last thing I wanted was to discourage him. Still, I blurted something like it didn't hurt, and would have dropped the matter there, but I sensed that if it wasn't pain that hadn't prompted such a reaction, what other explanation could account for my shrinking him off so brusquely in front of my friends? So I mimicked the face of someone trying very hard but failing to smother a grimace of pain. It never occurred to me that what had totally panicked me when he touched me was exactly what startles virgins on being touched for the first time by the person they desire. His tears never in them, they never know excited, and that produced far more disturbing pleasures than they are used to on their own. He still seemed surprised by my reaction, but gave every sign of believing in. As I of concealing the pain around my shoulder, it was his way of letting me off the hook and pretending he wasn't in the least bit aware of my nonsense in my reaction, knowing, as I later came to learn, how thoroughly trenchant was his ability to sort contradictory signals. I have no doubt that he must have already suspected something. Here, let me make it better. He was testing me and proceeded to massage my shoulder. Relax, he said in front of the others, but I'm relaxing. You are as stiff as this bench. Follow this, he said to Marcia, one of the girls closest to us. It's all knots. I felt her hands on my back. Here, he ordered, pressing her flattered palm hard against my back. Feel it? You should relax more, he said. You should relax more, she repeated. This video is taken for Navi Daria's page.